checking a few things out. Remember, I'm got a lot of things going on here. I can see all of you on monitors on both sides. Also can read your chats here. And so everybody give me, can you hear me good? Give me a thumbs up or let me know in the chat if you could hear me. So good. Bud said good. Where? Okay, yeah, there we go. Looks like we're good for sound. Also, let me know where you're coming from. What part of the Idaho or part of the country. Just type it in there. Boise, Star, Judy's in Star, Teresa's in Caldwell, Robert, Plummer, owner in Middletown, Kelly in Nampa, James. Okay, looks like we're doing good here. We got this chat working good. Now there's something to remember, and that is that whenever you want to go live, if you want to communicate with me, you have to put your thumbs up, your hand up, and then the team here is going to reach out to you and communicate with you through the chat. You have to communicate back and forth with the chat so they can lay some of the ground rules and get you where we need you. If you just raise your hand and then you don't communicate through the chat, then we can't bring you on. So there's some technical, and yeah, so you want to raise your hand right here, hit raise your hand and use these reaction buttons, and we should be good to go. Let's go ahead and get on with what we're doing here. And let's get started. I'm excited, but we're going to first start off with announcing again, or kind of talking about the Colin Ray concert that's coming up here in a few weeks. We're so excited for this. It's going to be a lot of fun. Colin Ray is an amazing entertainer, and we're excited. We have an awesome venue, and we hope that all of you, if you haven't already, will buy tickets. And speaking of that, we're going to give away multiple tickets throughout this virtual town hall. And how we're going to do it is I'm going to ask you a question about something that I've said in some of the previous town halls, or some of, even my town halls when I've come into your area. And the first 5 people that answer the question get a free ticket. Now, if you've already bought a ticket and it's a general admission, then if you get the answer, we'll upgrade it to VIP. And if you have a VIP ticket, then we'll upgrade it to a Colin Ray meet and greet. So this is a really great opportunity to either get a ticket or to upgrade your ticket to either a VIP or to a Colin Ray, and actually be able to meet Colin Ray and rub shoulders with him in kind of the pre-concert setting. So who's ready? It's the first 5 people that answer the question, and you have to do it in the chat. So I realize that people that text really fast are going to have an advantage, but that's just the way it is. Maybe they don't know the answer to the question. And we're going to do this 3 times throughout the virtual town hall. So, okay, here's the question. What is freedom? Now, I've talked about this. I'm looking for a specific definition that I've defined multiple times. What is freedom? What is freedom? Go ahead and type it into the box. Okay, Kelly says the right to choose. I don't disagree with that, but that's not exactly what we're after. Our God-given right, it certainly is. Certainly is. There's a definition that I've defined, and I've talked about it all over the state of Idaho. Right given by God, there's no doubt about it. I'm still looking for a specific definition. Okay, the freedom is the ability to choose one's own destiny without rules. That's getting pretty close. Ability for life, liberty, and the pursuer of happiness. Okay, it's getting pretty close. There's a little piece in there that I'm wanting, that I've defined pretty closely. Okay, being able to live free as long as you don't attend or hurt another. Okay, you better log that one down. Do what you want as long as you don't infringe upon others' rights. Okay, Wendy, that is correct. Freedom is just another word for nothing left to do. Okay, We've got a couple people that have it here. When the government scares the people and the people are in power. That's pretty when the government is scared of the people and the people are in power. Freedom says, or Bonnie says, my 9-year-old said, not Biden. Okay, that's for sure. Freedom to live one's life and to do no harm. Okay, that's another one there. We want to give it to freedom. Is anything you wish, as long as you do not infringe upon another's rights and the right to own property. Okay, that's another one right there. We need to log that one. So we've got one more. Okay, there's two parts to it. Unalienable rights, don't attend or hurt anyone. I don't know what you're meaning by that. Okay, right there, Brandy. To live your conscience without infringing on another person's rights. So that's number 5. So freedom is the ability to do whatever you want as long as you are not infringing upon another person's rights. So that is what freedom is. That's what I believe the definition of freedom is. I believe that it is defined that way because it shows that, well, we're free. We're free to do whatever we want. But the responsible part of that is we can't infringe upon another person's rights. So I can't say I'm free to live wherever I want and then go camp on your property for indefinitely. That's not freedom because I'm infringing upon your rights. So we've got 5 people. Did we catch those people there? Okay, we'll be contacting you. There was 5 of you that gave the definition or very close to it. Congratulations. If you don't have a ticket to the Colin Ray concert, then we will be giving you one. If you already have a general admission, we will upgrade it to VIP. And if you have a VIP ticket, then we'll upgrade it to a Colin Ray meet and greet. So, and we got two other tries at this too. All right, let's get into what we're going to talk about today because I think it's really important, and especially to what is happening to Idaho. Now, my last virtual town hall was spread all over Idaho and has done a tremendous amount of good at educating people on what Brad Little and his buddies have been doing. And so if you haven't had a chance to watch that, or if you want to keep spreading that around, you go to, let me just go right here to my laptop or and you go to events right here, go to virtual town hall. This is at votebundy.com, votebundy.com. I think I could do, yeah, there we go, votebundy.com. Then you go to events and you go to virtual town hall, and you'll see here, get it off this, that all the town halls are down here. And the last one, I spoke about Brad Little's wickedness and his corruption in Idaho here. And you can also click on the others and watch them and share them. So if you click on that, then you can share the link. You know, just copy this link right up here. And then you can send it to your friends and text it and get them informed. And as soon as this virtual town hall is done, takes us a couple hours to get it all loaded and everything, it will also be on that same list. So remember, just go to events and virtual town hall. Also, if you want to know where I'm going to be at, go to events and hit calendar. I have been very busy all over the state. I'll continue to be very busy and work hard for this possibility of being free, and that's what we're doing here. So, all right, let's see here. So let me back up here and get back to presentation. We talked about freedom. Now I'm going to talk about what's happening, some more things that are happening in Idaho here. I'm going to talk about Idaho law and particularly the emergency orders, because you'll see here that Brad Little, he gave himself a bunch of powers, and we're going to talk about whether he did it legally or whether he didn't. But I want to point out that on March 13th, we've talked about this before, he declared a state of emergency in the state of Idaho. Then on March 25th, 2020, he declared a state of extreme emergency. And remember right here where it says chapter 10, title 46, remember that. We've talked a little bit about that before, but remember this. Right here, he says, this was actually on January 7th, 2022. So he just did it about a month ago. And he said that the state of emergency described in 46-1008 Idaho Code still exists in the state of Idaho. And then he made sure, so he wanted to make sure that you knew that he was still got you under his order. That right now in Idaho, as of January 7th, he declared that the state of Idaho is still an emergency. Now, so this is not something I'm talking about in 2020. This is something I'm talking about now. I'm not talking about something that happened 2 years ago, although we definitely are going to talk about some of those things, but they're still happening right now. Now, he says that the proclamation dated December 10th, 2021 is superseded by this proclamation. So he's replacing the proclamation that he did on December 10th with this one. And then he says that implementations of plans and procedures of the state of Idaho emergency operation plans are to continue. So that the emergency plans are to continue. And then 4, that this declaration of emergency is necessary to protect life and property of Idahoans. I don't believe that one bit. But I do believe the second part of this line where it says, and ensure that the state of Idaho continues to have the state and federal resources and funding. Well, now we're getting down to what it's all about. So just want to make sure you know that this was a declaration he did on January 7th, 2022, just a month ago. So let's talk about this law, this 46-1008, this code. Because I want you to ask the question if Governor Little has the authority or not to be keeping the Idaho people in emergency, state of emergency. Now, so look here. We've got, this is the actual 46, chapter 10, 46-1008. So I'm not pulling any punches here. It's just what the state statute is. And it says, no state of disaster emergency may continue for longer than 30 days. Okay. Unless the governor finds that it should be continued for another 30 days or any part thereof, which means that he could have made it only 15 days. But if he wants to extend it to, it can only go for 30 days, and then he could extend it for another 30 days if it needs to be. Now, it didn't say he can continue to extend it longer and longer and longer, right? It only says that he has 60 days is the longest the governor can hold emergency powers in Idaho. So, 60 days was a long time ago. Why is he holding the people of Idaho in emergency state of emergency? Now, I'm going to back up because I want you to look at this. I want you to be the judge. You're the jury. I want you to be the jury. Am I interpreting this incorrectly? Let me know right in here. Let me know if I'm interpreting it wrong. It says, no state of disaster emergency may continue for longer than 30 days unless the governor finds that it should be continued for another 30 days. So that would seem like the longest he could have us in emergency status, a state of emergency, is 60 days, right? Okay, if I'm wrong, I want to hear your theories in here. Because my understanding is 60 days is the longest the governor can hold the emergency powers. Now, the governor has a right-hand man that he calls the Attorney General. And that right-hand man seems to be running on the verge of basically communist type of socialist control, and he is giving the governor advice and saying that the governor can continue to every 30 days can continue to extend or re-up the emergency order. And that person is Lawrence Wasden. he is the Attorney General right now, and he is give advice, legal advice to the governor, and it's really convenient for the governor to have an Attorney General like this. I mean, because basically the governor says, I want all this power, I want to hold all this power, and the Attorney General says, yeah, go ahead. So I call him Comrade Wosden. He's a great hero for the Russian effort, and ultimately he is telling the governor, and the governor, is planning and going on that legal advice that he can continue the emergency order indefinitely. So here we see, right, this is the governor's website. We see down here on March 13, 2020, he declared an emergency declaration. And then on the 25th, an extreme emergency declaration. And then you look up here on 4/22, he extended the emergency declaration. Then on 5/12, he extended the emergency declaration. Then on so on and so forth, it gets up to 7/10, extension of emergency declaration. Then, in August and September, then we look, he did that all the way through 2020, then all the way through 2021, and then all the way up until the 7th, which I just showed you that declaration. And so he thinks, and they believe, that they can continue to extend the state of emergency indefinitely. They can keep the people in emergency status forever. And as we talked about in one of the other town halls, they have changed our form of government, my friends. They have changed it. They have taken over the government where the powers of government are now in their hands. They have also been able to get all this federal funding and spend it on their own. And so this is a real problem. And this has been a problem in history before, where dictators try to take power into themselves and hold it as long as they can. And Governor Little is no different, and this is exactly what's happening. Now, it has put us into a situation where we are not a Republican form of government, representative government, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But we have to understand that the Idaho law gave us a provision to get out of it. And that is that the Idaho legislature can end the emergency order at any time. So yeah, the governor's not supposed to extend the order beyond 60 days, but also the legislature can end the emergency order at any time. Let's go to the second part of this same statute, and it says, so after the 30 days and the 30 days, and it says, the legislature by concurrent resolution may terminate a state of disaster emergency at any time. And so they have the power to end the emergency order. But why have they not done this? Why has the legislature not done this? Why have the legislature not freed the people from these emergency orders? It's not because of safety. We've never even hit pandemic level numbers, and it wouldn't matter if we had. We still have the right to be free, the right to worship, to go to church, to assemble, and all of those things that are protected under the Constitution. So why hasn't the legislature ended the emergency order and take power back from the governor? Well, let me back up here a little bit. And it is because of this line right here. To have the state and federal resources and fundings. They want the federal funding. And as soon as they take the state out of a state of emergency, then no longer do they get those fundings. And so the people of Idaho, or the legislature, has sold us out. And it is something that I'm not very happy with. I've been very vocal about. I will continue to be very vocal about. The House needs to pass a resolution. The Senate needs to pass a resolution. They need to end the governor's order. And they're still in a session right now, so they can do it right now. So they need to end it. Now, prior to them being in a session, the legislature was saying, well, we can't assemble, we can't have a session, we can't come together to pass a joint resolution because the governor's attorney, Wosden, and the governor said that we can't we don't have permission as a legislature to meet without their permission. Okay? So wait a minute. We've talked about this before, but I'm re-emphasizing that the legislature, an equal branch to the executive branch, is saying that they can't meet together and end the session through a consecutive order because Comrade Wasden and Conrad Little said they can't meet without their permission. Does that even make sense at all? Does that make one bit of sense that the legislature cannot convene without the governor's permission? Okay, yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. But anyway, that's where we're at. And so Governor Little keeps us definitely in emergency order. That's where he's at. He keeps us there, and he's kept us there now for 697 days. Imagine that. Supposed to be 60 days at the longest, because then he's supposed to take care of the emergency and then restore the power back to the people, back to the representatives. And that's all the emergency order is supposed to be. In fact, there's several provisions that talk about the legislature then convening, them making a plan, them passing those issues through different, through basically different processes. And they are not supposed to keep the people of Idaho or the legislatures under a state of emergency. So that's a problem we have, right? We have an issue. We have an issue that we have to deal with. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running. Day one, I will end that order. I don't care if I lose power by ending the emergency order. It is very important that we protect our free form of government. It is very, very crucial that we do that. And a governor should protect that right. In fact, and I've said this before, but it is the United States responsibility also under Article 4, Section 4, to restore, if a governor does what Governor Little did, to restore the Republican form of government back to the people. It says in Article 4, Section 4, the United States shall guarantee to every state in the Union a Republican form of government. All right. So let's do this again. Let's answer another question. You guys ready? Again, we're going to give away 5 tickets to the Colin Ray concert. And if you've already bought a ticket, we'll upgrade it to a VIP. If you have a VIP, we'll upgrade it to the Colin Ray meet and greet, which is going to be great. Colin Ray is an awesome individual who's a patriot. He wouldn't come to Idaho and put his name with mine if he wasn't a patriot, because I'm the scary man, right? I'm the scary guy. I'm the guy that you tell your neighbors, and you're not quite sure they either love you or they hate you, or you have to convince them. But that's what's been happening all over Idaho, and the momentum we are gaining is tremendous. It is amazing. Okay, so the question is, let's go. What form of government is the state of Idaho? Okay, first 5. What form of government is the state of Idaho? Okay, we have a republic. That's close. Very close. Republican, a tyrannical. Brian's a dictatorship. Whoa, wait a minute. I guess, oh my goodness. I got to rephrase. What's it supposed to be, right? I do have to. What is it supposed to be? Okay. Democratic Republic, close. Constitutional Republic. There's 2 of them. Constitutional Republic. There's 3. Constitution. There we go. There's our 5. So Brandy, Shannon, Bonnie, James, and Lesko. Okay. Those were the first. So we will contact you with your either tickets or with your upgrade. So thank you. Yes, we are a constitutional republic. What does that mean? That means we are a representative government, but our representatives are bound to a charter, to a constitution. And so it is the only form of government that has brought the success and freedom to mankind. I guess it's brought success and freedom to mankind greater than any other type of government. And we have been very blessed for our founders to be able to see the wisdom of this form of government and to apply it. It's not perfect. Don't get me wrong. But it is inspired because it is a way to protect the rights of the people while the people are being free. Okay, so let's move on to our next section, which is we're going to talk about how the bureaucrats, many in our government, believe that the people are the enemy. Now, I have talked about some things that happened. If you remember, I'm going to back up all the way to 2020. Hang on. Okay, 2020, we were put in extreme emergency status, state of extreme emergency, and the governor ordered that the people of Idaho remain in their residence and that they could not come out unless they had permission from the governor to come out. Now, many people in Idaho kind of disregarded it, but they were very afraid to assemble. They were very afraid to go to church. And one of the things that I felt very strongly about is that, and I wasn't alone, I had some great people that, supported me and had these same ideas, but that it was very important that we assembled, and it was also very important that we worshiped. So we began to meet and assemble with people, and we also planned an Easter service. If you remember, that Easter service did happened in 2020 on Easter Sunday, and it was a wonderful service. Diego taught us some really, really great lessons, but there was something going on behind the scenes before the Easter service, and that is that there was a collusion of law enforcement planning on trying to stop the service, even to the point where they were going to raid and arrest people. And it also included, the ISP colonel in the ISP, the top person in Idaho State Police, the Ada County Sheriff, Bartlett, Meridian Police, CUNA, I think, was involved in it, and several other policing agencies, and the FBI Joint Terrorist Task Force. So I'm going to show you the evidence of that because I want you to see this evidence. I'm going to read through it, and you've got to be patient with me a little bit because it's an email chain that I was able to obtain through my discovery in my court case and also through a public records request. So we look here. This is from John McDaniel. He's a command team, I believe, for Meridian, if I'm not mistaken. He says, I'm hearing rumbling that Bundy is coming to CUNA for his Easter service. Oh, actually, this is a CUNA officer. I can only hope it isn't true. I have the Fusion Center and the FBI looking into this further. Below here are some excerpts from the article. Basically, the meeting which appeared to be the meeting that we were having, and also the Easter service, they said appeared to be violation of the orders by the Governor Brad Little to avoid gatherings. So that's one email. This is all a chain. This is another part of that same chain. It says, this gentleman, Ammon Bundy from Emmett, posted this on his Facebook page. Please do what is necessary and not allow this individual to disobey your announcement as well as the governor's. And then part of my message going out was, this week we are looking for a place to hold Easter service. So remember the Idaho Constitution and the United States Constitution protects our right to assemble and protects our right to worship and to gather to worship. The Idaho Constitution is very, very strong on this. Who remembers me reading the Idaho Constitution? Did you watch that? Let me know. Give me a thumbs up if you have heard me read about what the Idaho Constitution says. Okay, there's a couple people. Okay, there's not enough there to not have me read it again. And we know that the U.S. Constitution in First Amendment says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So the government should make no law around religion or the establishing the freedom to worship. Okay, So in the Idaho Constitution, we read in Section 4, guarantee of religious liberty, the exercise and enjoyment of religious faith and worship shall forever be guaranteed, and no person shall be denied any civil or political right, privilege, or capacity on account of his religious opinions. So it's just off limit. The government has no authority whatsoever. And the U.S. Constitution says the federal government has no authority. Now, if we go to the last part of the Idaho Constitution, it says this: it is ordained by the state of Idaho that perfect toleration of religious sentiment shall be secured, and no inhabitant of said state, that would be Idaho, shall ever be molested in person or property on account of his or her mode of religious worship. So it couldn't be more clear, right? The right to worship, the right to assemble, the right to come together and to worship is protected. It is off limits from the government. So what in the world are these people doing? Let's go on. So this is Michael Masterson. He's city of Boise police. He's sending it to Lavely and also Sheriff Bartlett, Stephen Bartlett, Captain Rick Allen. I believe he's Idaho State Police, Ron Weiniger. And it's titled Easter Sunday Gathering. Easter Sunday Gathering. And it says, Easter Sunday Gathering down here. We forwarded info to the Fusion Center, and I would prefer to prepare behind the scenes until it looks like it might be a possibility. What we could discuss is what we intend to do if it does happen, talking about the Easter Sunday Gathering. If it does happen, threat assessment, who to charge, right and route, etc. So they're talking about who they're going to go charge for this gathering. They're talking about arrests. They're talking about how do they write it up as far as the arrests and how do they make it stick, and then also how are they going to route? How are they going to get there? What are they going to do while they're there? How are they going to get out of there? All of those things that they're planning, and they're planning this, and this is like these emails are like two junior high kids holding hands in public. If they're holding hands in public, you wonder what they're doing in private. Now, if they're kissing in public, because this is more like them kissing in public, if they're kissing in public, well, you ought to be afraid of what they're doing in private, because this is just a little touch of what they're talking about. And they're talking about in an Easter Sunday service in Idaho, in the United States of America, coming in and raiding and arresting people. They're talking about plans. They're talking about working with the FBI. And they're talking about who they're going to charge, how they're going to write it up, what routes they're going to take, and so forth. Now, this is something I want you to see, because this shows the Wills Kendrick. Well, he's the Idaho State Police colonel. You got Stephen Bartlett up here. He is at the time, Ada County sheriff. Now, by the way, he was, abandoned his post and left the state because he was caught giving sexual favors, or actually asking for sexual favors in order to get promotions from his deputies. And so that's your Ada County sheriff there. I'm glad he's gone. But he's on this email. Michael Masterson, Captain Rick Allen, and so forth. And they say, I will forward this to Sergeant Kissinger in the Fusion Center. He has been monitoring and coordinating with the FBI Joint Terrorist Task Force. He's been basically colluding and communicating and working with the FBI Joint Terrorist Task Force about us having an Easter service. Do we see a problem here? This is in Idaho, when it's very clearly protected. I have a right, we all have a right to worship. We have a right to assemble. And the fact that they're even talking this way is, anyway, it's beside me. Good morning, all. Is there any interest in tasking our staff to try and develop a contingency plan in the event the promoter is successful in acquiring a site and going through with plans? Thanks. So they're just constantly talking about these emails are going back and forth. I think we have a good grasp on it now. So they've been meeting now for a while. Let's see what the end of the week brings, and if we have to huddle for a final plan. I think the same group working on the staff plans could add this to their discussion, Steve. So these are just a little piece of what we were able to uncover of them plotting to, raid and arrest an Easter service in Idaho in the United States of America when it is 100% clearly protected right. Now we know later on in 2020, they did raid and arrest pastors for having church. And shame on Idaho. They also arrested a mother for taking her children to the park. And shame on Idaho for allowing that to happen. We also raided multiple businesses and began prosecuting the owners. And I just want to emphasize that, these policing agencies, these are the leaders of them. I'm not in any way saying that everybody in the agency is a bad egg. I'm not saying that. I've been very clear about the need for our sheriff's departments, the need to have a force that protects our rights. But that's not what is going on here. This is actually the very opposite of what our law enforcement was designed for. This is the very opposite. And it is protected in our constitutions to be able to worship how, where, and when we want. And the fact that they would be communicating this way is disgraceful. And every one of these individuals should resign. And I do not see in any way how they are qualified to hold the positions in any type of law enforcement agency. All right. So, any thoughts of anybody you want to ask any questions when it comes to this? Okay. I'm going to move on then. I see you guys are talking great. There's lots of stuff going on in the chat there. Just wanted to give you a chance. So it says, we need to send Ada County Sheriff packing. Doug Trebell for sheriff. Well, I know there's an election coming up because the sheriff now was appointed. And so let's get it right. Let's get Doug in. I agree. Doug is a great guy who understands correct principles of freedom. So yeah, Robert said it's very upsetting. Was this obtained through FOIA? So FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, is a federal thing. And so this was obtained on a state level, which is just a public records request. And also, remember, they prosecuted me for trespassing in the Capitol building. And so I was able to get some discovery. And what happened was we filed for a public records request, and this came to us, and then immediately they issued this in our discovery because they knew they were withholding it, and they knew they had to disclose it. Okay. Ammon, you have enough evidence now to file against their surety bonds and oaths of office. Yeah, I've seen that happen before. I've also seen how they don't care, but we could talk about that later. Okay, let me move on. Let's get into the next part, legal immunity. Now, legal immunity is something that Governor Little was trying to obtain. Why? Well, it's pretty obvious. He knew what he was doing was harmful to the people. He was trampling on the people's rights. He was just about ready to set it up so that people were, taking vaccines and they were losing their jobs for not having masks and all this other stuff. And he was suspending parental rights and making it so that they can house children when the state, mass amount of children in one spot when the state takes your child for quarantine purposes. These were all the things that Governor Little was doing. So he's needing legal immunity. But the purpose of the courts, I want to be very clear, there's a purpose of the court. And one is to protect the rights of the accused while administering justice according to the law. So that's one purpose. The second purpose is very similar, to peacefully resolve matters between two parties that are unable to find a resolution. Now, Governor Little was wanting to make sure that the courts would not allow this to happen, to bring justice or to where a person can bring up civil suit against the state. And the reason why is twofold. You remember when Governor Little, he signed memorandums of understanding, agreements with the federal government. He signed those in order to receive $18 billion, because that's about what he's received, right around $18 billion. And he had to, it all came with strings. And so he knew he had to push mandates because the federal government was requiring him to. So he knew he had to push mandates, but he also wanted to be protected. If you look at this proclamation, this is where he issued that we were going to have, he was going to call a special session. And during that special session, he says that you can't do anything else. You can't do anything else but what I tell you to in the special session. That's what he told the legislature. And one of the things he says is that you're going to work on passing an immunity bill, RS 28049. And he did that on August 9th, so he called a special legislative session. Now let's look at the immunity bill, because again, it was for two purposes. One, to legally protect the governor and his buddies from adverse effects of COVID mandates. And two, to force businesses and people to comply with the COVID mandates. So how was this bill going to do that? How is this bill going to accomplish protecting the governor from legal liability and also force businesses to comply with the COVID mandates? Because remember, he had to push the mandates, but he didn't want to be liable for it. So he was using this bill in order to accomplish that. Now, if you read the bill at the very beginning, it says legislative intent. In enacting this legislation, it is the intent of the legislature to limit liability by providing a safe harbor to all persons during disasters or emergencies arising from a coronavirus-related pandemic or epidemic, who makes good faith effort to meet the requirements occasioned by such an event. So at first it sounds pretty good, like, oh, we want to pass this to make sure that everybody's protected from, being sued and so forth. But if you look down here, it says, who makes good faith effort to meet the requirements occasioned by such event? So that kind of catches you there a little bit, like, what do you mean by that? Well, later down in the bill, it identifies what it means by that. It says that immunity provided in this section shall not apply if a person fails to make good faith effort to comply with the statute, rule, or lawful order of a government entity. So basically, if you're a business and you don't comply, then you're liable to be sued. But if you're a business and you do what the governor tells you to do and the government tells you to do, then the government will say, no one can sue you. And that is how they were basically manipulating the businesses and the people, or they were going to manipulate the people into complying, to pushing vaccine mandates, to pushing mask mandates, or whatever else the government told them to do. Because they were going to come and go down upon the businesses of Idaho and say, look, if you don't comply with us, then someone will sue you and we won't protect you. You'll be legally liable. And if you do comply with us, then we'll make it so that in the statutes you can't be sued. Now, that's not everything that this bill says. Because if you look down here, it says The immunity provided in this section shall not apply to causes of action brought against the state of Idaho, its officers, agencies, or political subdivisions, challenging the legality or constitutionality of any declaration of emergency, agency rule, regulation, statute, ordinance, or public health order, irrespective of the remedy sought. So basically, the government is completely immune, completely protected from any type of person trying to sue them. Now, we also see this in Governor Little's, almost all of Governor Little's executive orders. He says here in almost all his executive orders, he says, this one is on the 22nd of April, but almost all of them have this or similar terminology. The proclamation this proclamation is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or equity by any part against the state of Idaho, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. So basically he's saying that, this proclamation doesn't make us liable. You can't sue us for it. And basically what this is like a person comes and burns down your house. But before he does it, he tells you he's going to burn down your house, and he tells you that after he burns down your house, you can't sue him for it. That's basically what's going on here. The governor is declaring himself that you can't sue him. But the problem is he can declare all he wants, and the courts should be open and available to all people for a remedy of justice. That even our Constitution says that. I believe it's the 17th or 18th section of our Idaho State Constitution. The courts of justice shall be open to all people, and a quick remedy shall be offered. So we could sue the governor because of these things if we have true damages. So someone is damaged by his actions, we could sue him. But he was trying to make it so that we couldn't through this legislation. Now, so we see here we've got a governor again trying to cover his back, trying to make it so that he could do whatever he wants with the money that he's received, with the power that he has taken, and not be legally liable or really accountable in any way. And we've got a attorney general who's backing him on this and protecting him and saying that, you can have a emergency, put the state in emergency as long as you want. You can do this, you can do that. You can keep the legislature from convening. You can get all this money and all this power, and I'll back you up legally and basically dump on the people. Forget about the people. Wasden has trampled on the people's rights and protected the bureaucracies. And it needs to be the other way around. So anyhow, that brings me to my next section, which is part 2 of the people are the enemy. But I got to get a drink of water here first. All right. Okay, so getting into this, I want to shine some light about, again, what Governor Little was trying to do. Remember, he called a special legislative session. Now, that session he called for starting in August 24th, and they were supposed to go and try to pass this immunity bill. That was the specific reason for calling the session. Now, of course, a lot of people weren't happy with that. And they were so unhappy with it that they began to decide that they were going to go down to the Capitol building. I was one of them. And even so on August 20th, that'd be 4 days before the session even began, we start to see emails again from Joe Mueller and Blake Higley. Joe Mueller's of the Security and Operations Administrator of the Division of Administration. Blake Higley is a sergeant. Basically, Governor Little's protective agency. He's the sergeant there at the Capitol building. So he's Governor Little's right-hand man. We start to see emails of them talking about and trying to get permission from from the right people to start to arrest people or trespass people. And they actually mentioned my name before, so this is several days before the session even began. Now we also see here where they start to talk about drafting together something that they call the COVID-19 Security Countermeasure Plan. You'll see this is the cover of it, and it's basically a plan that they go through to countermeasure the people in their concern with what the government is doing and them assembling at the Capitol building and all of this. It says, reducing risk through effective mitigation adjustments based on intellectual and observation. At the very bottom, if you can see, it says security, operation, and then it says, man, my eyes are bad. It says basically that it's sensitive. That's what it is. So security operation sensitive. It's pretty small. And so this was kind of a big thing, and they were passing it around, improving upon it, and they were basically building this plan of how to counter the people in their issues with what they were doing with COVID-19. Now this would be like Idaho State Police and the Security Department of the Department of Administration. One of the things in there on one of the pages, it says active plan to detect and mitigate increasing risks to state operations during Rebound Idaho. Talks about the fusion center there, using that for sources of intelligence. Whenever you hear that, it's basically the FBI, and particular the Joint Terrorist Task Force. It also identifies in the packet anti-government groups and persons. And I just found this, and it shows the increase of support for these. And it says here that, let's go down through these sponsoring groups, anti-government attendees. Idaho Freedom Foundation. Boy, that's a terrorist organization, right? Dang, Wayne Hoffman, he's got to be one of the best terrorists I know. I mean, he is such a nice guy. He loves his country, he loves his state, and he makes people aware of what's going on, and he holds our representatives accountable. And how that makes him a domestic terrorist is beyond me. So let's go back. Health Freedom Idaho. Oh man, those ladies over there, Misty and the others, they're about as good a people as you're ever going to find. They love, again, this state. They love people. They just want people to be secure. They want people to have freedom. They want people to be wise with their medical decisions. They want to, to basically love their neighbor, and they do it enough that on their own time, they spend a tremendous amount of effort educating and informing and keeping our government officials accountable. Now, how in the world they're called anti-government or domestic terrorists, I don't know. What about Idaho Second Amendment Alliance? I thought the Second Amendment was, I thought that was part of the Constitution. I thought it was protected in the United States Constitution and protected in the Idaho Constitution. I don't understand how someone like Greg Pruitt, who can, work hard and create this organization to help and protect the right to keep and bear arms as protected in the Second Amendment, how he can be designated as anti-government or a domestic terrorist. And then, we look up here, we go back here, and we look at, Freedom Tabernacle. That's our very own Diego Rodriguez. How do you not like that guy? Right, Diego? How do you not like that guy? Talk about a man of God and someone who loves his country and loves the state of Idaho and loves the people and is willing to give up anything really to protect the liberties of the people and do it in a way which God would be pleased with. So now we're talking about churches and pastors and people that stand up for freedom and teach the gospel while they do so is domestic terrorists, anti-government. And of course, I'm really offended here because they spelt my name wrong. Right? I think that's me. but I think they must have me as anti-government. But my name is spelled Ammon, by the way, whoever wrote this. And if you're going to get my domestic terrorist status right, you have to get my name right too. Anyway, so here we are, people's rights. You know, I would say of all of the people, I might be right on the borderline, and people's rights might be right on the borderline of anti-government, although our entire effort is to try to hold government accountable and protect our rights when government fails. Because the purpose of government is to protect the rights of the people, right? And this doesn't look like protecting the rights of the people. This looks like they're making the people their enemy. And so we see this. This is again some more of the emails about getting authorization for trespassing people. And it's all coming from these two birds, Scott Bedke and Governor Little. They're directing it. They're pushing it. And the bureaucracies are just loving it. They're all excited about it. And it was all about Governor Little trying to get legal immunity and about using the Idaho State Police to do so. Now, if you remember, well, what they didn't want is they didn't want the Governor Little and Scott Bedke and Blake Higley and Joe Mueller, they didn't want the people to come to the Capitol building and put influence on the legislature. They wanted the people to go to sleep. They wanted them to not worry about it while they passed this legal immunity bill. However, because of people like myself and Wayne Hoffman and Misty Karlfeld and Greg Pruitt and Diego Rodriguez, we brought a lot of attention, among many others, to what was happening, and we were able to expose this bill that they were trying to pass. And hundreds of people came to the Capitol building. This is exactly what they didn't want, by the way. Hundreds of people came. But before we were able to get in here, as you can see in the gallery at the house, when they came, they actually blocked the doors.
Let us in! 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 Let us in!
Well, we ended up having to push our way in, but eventually they yielded to the people's voice and they allowed us to come in after some pushing and shoving and some shouting. And that sometimes is the way democracy, if you want to call it that, is. We, the people, are the sovereign, and they're our representatives, and they don't have the power to keep us out and to regulate how we basically keep them accountable. We want to make sure the immunity bill doesn't pass so that the governing officials don't think that they can hurt us without legal accountability. So that's it.
So, we, just to be clear, just want to be very clear here to make sure that you know that I'm not talking again out the side of my mouth. Them blocking the House gallery was unlawful. It was against the law. It was against the rules, the House and Senate rules. And you'll see here, you know, this is Joint Rule 16, House chambers open. The chambers of the Senate and House of Representatives shall be open during any regular or special session. So the fact that they would block us and keep us out was, again, once again, they were breaking their own rules, they were breaking their own law. Now, we got in and everything went okay that day for the most part. And then I came back the next day, but there were some things that happened there, and we're going to go through it. But I want to show you here I hate to do a lot of reading, but and so I'm just going to skip through this. But you can see here in the italicized where this is actually either texting or emailing. Most of this is texting. This is all texting. Sorry, them back and forth. And you can see clear before I even came. So the first day on August 24th, the first day of the special session started. And in fact, about an hour before, Sergeant Higley texted and said, "Just heads up that Ammon Bundy is on the 4th floor outside the house gallery doors." Then it said later, he says, "Bundy is in WW02, that's West Wing 02. So throughout the entire session, Blake Higley was having me followed. Then on August 26th, Sergeant Higley texted Eric Milstead, the Director of Legislative Services, and said, "Speaker is interested in having the others arrestees from yesterday trespass too, in addition to Bundy." Director Milstead replied, "Yes, for consistency, I was already there." Okay, so they're starting to, they're basically wanting to make it look like they're justified in everything that they're doing. Now, if you get down here again, we could kind of go through. There was some talk about getting a trespass letter and so forth. And then at the very bottom it says, "Videos indicate Bundy is back en route to the Capitol. His wife is already here, and so is Pam Hempfield in the group. ISP has units on the way to the Capitol, and Boise PD has been informed and will be patrolling. It will be an arrest on-site situation for sure," per Blake. So now, I want to show you this video, and it's compliments of Joe Brown. It's a little long, but it's very, very specific, and so I want to show this to you.
All of my focus was on Mr. Bundy. We had a significant manpower allocation to make sure that Mr. Bundy was arrested. We had a significant manpower allocation to make sure that Mr. Bundy was arrested. All of my focus was on Mr. Bundy. We had a significant manpower allocation to make sure that Mr. Bundy was arrested.
Do you know where Ammon Bundy was at 4:06 p.m.?
I believe he was in the Lincoln Auditorium.
Can you tell me what rule Ammon Bundy had broken at that point?
At that point, he had
Despite not breaking any rule, you arrested Ammon, right?
he was arrested, correct?
Did you participate in the arrest?
I did.
Okay. So despite not breaking any rule, you ordered Ammon Bundy arrested, right? Despite not breaking any rule, you arrested Ammon, right?
He was arrested, correct?
Did you participate in the arrest?
I did. All of my focus was on Mr. Bundy.
So, out of that trial, multiple officers testified, and all of them testified that I broke no rules or was not disruptive in any way. But I was targeted because they did not want me to be in that part of that legislative session. They did not want me to influence the legislature or other people. And this was their response. Almost 70 officers came to arrest me. Anyway, if you're lack of any evidence here, I want to point out one thing. This is a letter from the Patty Perkins, who's the director of the Idaho Finance, and it's to Keith Reynolds, who's the director of administration. And it's titled "Thank You." It's titled "Thank You," and it says here that, "Good job, Keith." It kind of goes on, "I'm sure the order will not change his behavior, but I am grateful to know it is there and that ISP, the governor, and you have stood up to the ridiculous antics. Thank you." So I guess it's to go to a legislative session, to be peaceful, and to participate in that process is ridiculous antics to Patty Perkins. Then Keith Reynolds responds and says, "Thank you, Patty. I really appreciate your note. At least Mr. Bundy will not be around in the January," and it goes on and says 2021 legislative session, which again was one of their whole goals, because they didn't want me there then, and they did not want me at the legislative session in 2021. And because of the things that they've done and us not being able to get to trial and those things, now I have not been able to participate in 4 legislative sessions, which, to be honest with you, doesn't completely break my heart, but it is something that is my right to do. This is representative government, and the government of Idaho conspired to strip my rights and the rights of other people that were participating in that legislative session. We are representative government. We are not government that does its own thing behind closed doors, locks the doors, tries to pass a bill behind closed doors. That's not what we are. We are representative government, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And as a governor, I will not tolerate this type of action. I will not be a wimpy person that does not stand for the rights of Idaho, the rights of the people of Idaho. That is something that you could be assured of. And if you are in any question of whether that is needed right now, just look around. Just look around. If you want to have a governor who is easy to manipulate, you want a governor who will compromise, you want a governor who will basically make it so that he does what is best for him, then I'm not your guy. But if you want someone who will stand for your rights, even at my own risk, then I will do that, and I will do that over and over. Now, let's lighten things up here. Let's give away some more tickets. So this question is maybe something you already knew or did not know, but we're going to give some more tickets. Remember, Colin Ray is coming in concert in just a couple weeks, February 23rd. It'll be in Emmett at the Stoney's Roadhouse. It's an awesome concert place. It'll be a family event, fun to come and participate. There's going to be, it's just going to be really great. It's going to be a fun event. And so if you don't have tickets, this is your chance. If you don't win tickets, go to votebundy.com and go to events, or just on the main page there. You could do that. Let's go to let's back up here and go to the home page. I'm going to show you again here, if I could do it right. So here's the votebundy.com. Go to media or events, and go to Colin Ray concert. Or if you just scroll down here, click on this, it'll bring you right into the home page, and then you could click on the purchase tickets, and it'll bring you into the tickets, and you can enjoy Colin Ray with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so let's give away some tickets. You guys ready? All right. Let me get to where I need to get to. Sorry, hang on. Let's see. We're going to go here, and then we'll get here. Okay, you guys ready for the last question? Okay. Karl Marx said communism can be summed up into one sentence, the blank. the blank. Karl Marx said communism can be summed up into one sentence. The blank. Do you remember me saying this? I'm glad, I hope we don't have any Karl Marx fans here or anything like that, but this is a quote that is very telling about communism. Okay, we have it right here. Let's go. Robert. So far, close. Henry's close. Jason has it. Jaswin has it. And that is, so that's 4. So one more. Henry, if you want to give it another shot, you're really close. Okay, Kelly Porter. That's correct. The abolition of private property. So Karl Marx stated that communism can be summed up into one sentence: the abolition of private property. Okay, so we're on a race here because I do want to ask some questions. I'm going to run through this section really quick and then we're going to talk. So I'm actually going to speed it up because we're going to talk about COVID numbers, but I'm not going to talk in between a lot so COVID numbers. Governor Little, we're seeing all these articles right now. This is one from today. Hospitalizations rising among fully vaccinated in the U.S. Fauci says. Why are so many vaccinated people in the hospitals? The Irish Times, COVID, 54% of hospital patients with viruses are fully vaccinated. But then Governor Little says this. Watch this.
My fellow Idahoans, yesterday evening, I toured a nearly full ICU wing in Boise. What I saw was heartbreaking. Among the COVID positive patients, all of them were unvaccinated. There are more Idahoans in the ICU with COVID-19 than ever before. The vast majority of them are unvaccinated. And there's only one real solution to the crisis. We need more Idahoans to choose to receive the safe, effective COVID-19 vaccine. I want to thank the more than 818,000 Idahoans who have shown love for their neighbor by choosing to receive the safe and effective vaccine. Nearly all new COVID cases, COVID hospitalization, and COVID deaths since the start of the year were unvaccinated. The vaccine protects you from landing in the hospital or worse. Even if you aren't concerned about getting that sick from COVID-19, your choice to receive the vaccine could prevent you from spreading the disease to someone who might need medical care or hospitalization. The vaccine significantly slows the spread of the virus, and it will help our healthcare system return to normal. It is our ticket out of the pandemic. The time to receive the vaccine is now. Please choose to receive the vaccine now to support your fellow Idahoans who need you. Please choose to receive the vaccine to protect lives, help our exhausted medical staff, keep healthcare access available to all of us, and keep our workforce healthy and keep our kids in school.
So I'm almost convinced, right? I'm almost convinced. The problem is that we have like a contradiction here. We got all these articles saying that most people admitted to the hospitals with COVID-19 are vaccinated, that the hospitals are clear full vaccination people, and then we've got Governor Little saying that new COVID cases, 98.9% are unvaccinated. COVID hospitalizations, 98. COVID deaths are 98. And so, what's going on here? Who is right? Who is wrong? I mean, are all these people, that are writing these articles just flat out lying to us and Governor Little is telling us the truth? Or is it Governor Little who is wrong? And I began to research this. I truly did. I could not understand why he would say such thing and use such numbers until I come to this understanding. And that is that the CDC defines vaccinated or fully vaccinated by, let's say, Pfizer right here, you have to have 2 doses and 21 days apart, and then 2 weeks after the final dose in the primary series. Moderna, you have to have 2 doses, 28 days, and 2 weeks after the final dose in the primary series. So in order to be vaccinated, according to the definition, you have to have both shots and 2 weeks have had to pass. So for example, our hospitals here in Idaho, you could get 1 shot, have an adverse reaction to it, which over 1 million people now in the United States have been reported to have adverse reactions to it, including many, many deaths. So you could have 1 shot, go to the hospital, get sick and go through all the things, finally get out of there, and you were declared unvaccinated. Or you can have both shots, go to the hospital because you can't talk, or your face is swelling up, or you're having a heart attack and you're only 18 years old. You could go to the hospital for that, and you're admitted in the hospital, and then you're declared as unvaccinated, even though you might have both shots, but it hasn't been 2 weeks. And so this is how he's getting away with it. He's actually saying that there's all these people in the hospital that are unvaccinated when they have 1 or 2 shots. They just haven't waited the time period. And now they're talking about a 3rd shot. So let's watch this a little bit.
The first shot of 2 doesn't change a thing, experts at Johns Hopkins said today. Nothing changes until at least 2 weeks after your final dose of the COVID vaccine. And briefing, these experts said in their big picture, it is unlikely that we will ever eradicate SARS-CoV-2, which means it is unlikely we will ever have a, quote, clear, defined endpoint to the pandemic.
But certainly, if you want to talk about what optimal protection is, I don't think anybody would argue that optimal protection is going to be with a 3rd shot.
So, now we're talking about 3 shots, but the point I want to make is that, this is how they're manipulating and getting us to, believe, how they're getting away with the manipulation of the numbers. Now, we've seen this the entire time, but I think it's disingenuous to tell the people of Idaho that the hospitals are clear full of unvaccinated people, knowing that the definition of fully vaccinated or vaccinated people is both shots in 2 weeks. So be aware of that. It's not a surprise that the governor of Idaho or the leaders of many of our states and our nation are deceiving us in many ways when it comes to these statistics and numbers. And they're doing it, why? Because Governor Little is highly, highly motivated to continue this federal funding and to continue to hold the control and to push the mandates that is coming down from the federal government because he received $18 billion and counting. So I say we make some changes here in Idaho. I think it's time that we become a government that is here to secure the rights of the people. I truly believe that Idaho must become a refuge from the outside world, a refuge for people who want to worship, trade, travel, who want to be left alone, who want to be good neighbors, who want to love their neighbor, care for them, who want to work by the sweat of their own brow and not by the sweat of somebody else's. That's what Idaho needs to become. That's what it must become, and that's what the world needs us to become. And so I invite you to support me in this effort in whatever way you can. Donate, come to the Colin Ray concert, come to our meet and greets that we're having all over Idaho. We're filling up rooms. In fact, we just had a meet and greet, or excuse me, not a meet and greet, a town hall, and we couldn't fit everybody in the venue. We actually had to tell people that we were having another one in Twin Falls. By the way, next Wednesday, in Twin Falls, we're having an event center. You can go to the calendar. Or excuse me, we're having a town hall. You can go to the calendar and see where the event center is. All right, so now let's go to some questions. So there's some questions here in the chat already. I'm going to kick us over here. Okay, question here. It's kind of a long one. Ammon, question for the meeting about property tax. I have been a supporter of the fair tax for a long time. I like the idea of getting rid of property tax, but I want to know how local services are paid for. Anyway, he says he lives in Garden Valley and he's wanting to know about, emergency services, law enforcement, and so forth. So, now let's take the Sheriff's Department, because I think we're going to have to focus on a legitimate purpose of government here, which is the Sheriff's Department and some other securities of our liberty, and they do need funding. And as you will read through, if you go to my Keep Idaho plan, and in fact, I'm going to show you here, if you go to news, and you scroll down here, there's a whole bunch of information here. Go to the next page, and you'll see here that I have addressed right here the elimination of property tax explained. And I break it down of what I'm planning on doing, because we are going to replace the needed funding for legitimate government with a consumption tax. And I've explained this multiple times, and people all over Idaho have been excited about this, because it's a way to get the state out of your real estate, out of your own property, and still pay for the legitimate purposes of business. So please go there and read that. Again, it's votebundy.com. Go to the news and scroll down to the article, The Elimination of Property Tax Explained. It's not very long. And rather than trying to explain it again here, you could go there. But ultimately, I'm replacing property tax with a consumption tax. It's very straightforward and hardly any negatives. So please go to that article. All right. Question number 2. I wanted to find out if Ammon Bundy can get us away from homeowners associations. The answer would be probably not, even though I hate homeowners associations. And the reason why is because you freely entered into that contract. Now you might say, look, I couldn't find any other housing. I had to enter in that contract, and I get that. And there's some mileage there. But these contracts are, freely entered into and not. You get to choose where you want to live. And it's pretty hard to get involved in those, although there might be some room. So, Bitcoin is, next question. Bitcoin is taking the political stage. It was designed specifically to take the control of money out of the hands of central banks and government corruption. Will you consider making it legal tender in Idaho? I've already addressed that. If you go to again, I'm going to kick here, go to my Keep Idaho. I think I didn't have, so I'm running in the dark here, guys, so sorry about that. I'll get myself back. Go here, and then you go to, scroll down, and you go to the Keep Idaho plan right here. And if you scroll down, you'll see that I've addressed so that I've talked about cryptocurrency here, using the blockchain technology, changing, anyway, so right there. And you will be able to read about that right here. Sorry, this is it. Recognizing and accepting the prominent cryptocurrencies by the state. It's a little mixed up. This is definitely related, but this is where you're going to see it. So, economic growth plan, number 9, recognizing and accepting of prominent cryptocurrencies by the state. So, that's where you can find it. And I go into detail about that. So remember, this Keep Idaho plan is pretty extensive, and it covers a lot of bases, and it's not out of reach for us to accomplish most of it, if not all of it. Okay, another question. How do you think you can win the election if the elections are rigged? Well, we have to do all that we can do to keep a very, very close eye on the elections, on the polls, on the process, and I am building the tools and manpower and team to do that. And I've talked about how we're building software so that people can report election integrity issues. I'm actually heading off a lawsuit right now in the city of Meridian, even though it has nothing to do with me in particular. There were some election integrity issues where the ballots were printed wrong. They knew it and they did not correct it. That was Phil McGrain, and I think it's a shame that they didn't correct that immediately. So anyway, and then also we're going to have poll watchers. We're going to have a reporting system. We're going to have attorneys on staff the election night. We're going to have computer forensic analysis on staff that night and other days. So this is what we're doing. All right, do we want to go? Is anybody live? Okay, if you want to go live, put your thumbs up and chat, and then come on in. And we are going to wrap this up. We're getting close to being done. But if you want to go live, you want to ask a question live, then just put your thumbs up. Okay, another question here. Will you stop the mandates for our healthcare workers even though the federal government won't stop it? Will you allow our National Guard to stop with the mandates like other states? So yeah, the National Guard is well under the governor's jurisdiction, and there will be no mandates for masks or vaccines or anything when it comes to the National Guard in Idaho. When it comes to the mandates, to be honest with you, I think our healthcare workers are actually doing a pretty good job. They've been holding their ground, and if you remember September 1st, the hospital said everybody has to be vaccinated September 1st. September 1st come around, and about 20% of the people said no, and they didn't fire them. Then November, I think 20th or something came around. They said everybody has to be vaccinated by then. And they said no. And they didn't fire them. And now the governor, in his mixings and movings, he's actually, calling on more healthcare workers because they're a valuable, needed asset to the hospitals. So the best way to overcome these mandates when it comes outside the jurisdiction of the government is to stand and say no, and stand with your fellow workers, if you will, or if you can, or stand alone, because you are valuable as an employee. You are the most valuable asset to any business, especially if you're a good employee. So be a good employee. What I mean by that is a producer, and stand for your rights, and you will turn the whole company in the right direction. I've seen one person do it. I've seen many people do it. So that is my answer. Within the jurisdiction which I have as a governor, there will be no mandates. I also will sever the control from the federal government with these government funds, these federal funds coming down to hospitals and corporations and states and our state and health departments and school boards. I will sever that and basically make it so that they can't contract with the federal government to infringe upon the rights of the people while they're taking money. All right, another question here. Is there a Republican Party committee present in each county of Idaho to endorse you and to get out the vote and stop the steal at the polls? I wouldn't go that far. There's definitely counties that support me and have people in that county and in the Republican Party that support me. We know this. Whether they endorse me or not is yet to be seen, and whether they're strong enough to stand and make a difference as far as not letting the election be stolen, I don't know that either. We are certainly communicating with them and working with the counties to make sure that we have a true election here in Idaho. And it's not an easy thing. Okay, another question. Can you do anything about the hospitals mandating the jab? I just covered that. So do we have any live questions? I'm not scary, so if you have any live questions, then you can ask them now. Anything about what we just talked about? I do want to wrap this up in just a few minutes, but anything that I covered as far as, the immunities, the Idaho law, Wasden and all his garbage along with the governor and extending this emergency orders for ever and ever. We need to get rid of him, by the way. I don't believe Wasden is any attorney general that should be allowed in this on a state level. So, all right. Then let's just wrap this up because we've been here for quite a while. I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming on here and all the, I don't know how many comments, hundreds and hundreds of comments that people have made. It looks like we have someone that's going to ask a question live here, so we'll take care of that, and then we'll wrap it up. Again, just okay, Sharon, if you want to ask a question, please respond to the people on chat. We have to have you respond so we could direct you through that. I do want to emphasize again here my website and get back here because there's tons of information, especially the Keep Idaho, Idaho plan. There's lots of videos in here. The newsroom is getting, is a good tool. You could pass these articles around. You just copy right here the link, and then share it with your friends. So this is one of the ways we get the word out. This is one of the ways we keep Idaho, Idaho. So any luck with that? No. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up, and I just want to again thank you for your time. Go to our Facebook page. If you have any questions for me, you can ask those. I do a podcast once a week called Ammon's Answers, and I try to answer the questions that we get. And we're going to continue to do what we're doing. We're excited with the momentum we're gaining, and we thank you for your support. So thank you very much, and have a great evening.
He overcame the danger to fight for what's right, preserving the Constitution so we could live our lives. Freedom is just a word unless you stand up to be